Welcome to the Headley Highlight Show's Royal Corner. This week in the Royal Corner, Prince Harry continues his mother's legacy in Angola with the Halo Trust, of which he is a patron. Indolent, lazy, do-little, boo-boo kitty Katie was well enough to attend Wimbledon on 2 days. She made a courageous recovery. And given the copious amount of press coverage her and the rest of the leeches in waiting got this week, there are several contenders for Sycophant of the Week. Also in the Headley Highlight Show's Royal Corner, the indolent Queen allegedly received spontaneous applause. We also have King George in waiting, the mini leech, and Queen Charlotte in her sea slug dress being apparently repulsed by somebody with special needs. And there is also the green-eyed king in waiting, Sir Pledge a lot. I pledge to end homelessness. I pledge to do this with the environment, none of which bring any tangible results. He appears to have been left out of the peace summit between representatives of King Bitter and Prince Harry. All this and more in the Headley Highlight Show's Royal Corner. Now, before I jump into the show, I need to have a confession, make a confession, shall I say. Preparing the show and doing all the work that I do for it is really tiring. So what I'm doing is I'm splitting it a little bit. So what you're going to hear is a little bit of commentary from the weekend and also up until midweek. And then I'll hopefully be closing with some additional commentary if there's anything to add on. That's why it might sound a little bit different. Because I'm working on myself and ensuring that, one doesn't become burnt out. And you just wouldn't want that, would you, darlings? We'd miss each other terribly. Anyway, let's jump straight into the preamble, which is this week. It's a joy to be with you once again. Thank you for your donations and your kind words, and also your comments, likes and shares. I am aiming to get to 2,000. I appear to be just hovering at 1678, and I'm trying to get to 17. I'm trying to get to 6,700. So if you can like, share, retweet, and also support the channel, this will be marvelous, darlings. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and to select all when you subscribe, and you will receive all of my notifications. And I am partial to a donation because you can fund a whole Bitcoin if you wanted to. That would be fabulous, darling. I do accept crypto. Or you might want to just stretch to 3 wings and chips and a Miranda. And you can make that donation on my channel, or you can visit my website, which is deniseheadley.com. The Royal Corner is a feature of my weekly political talk show called The Headley Highlight Show. Hope you like it, darlings. Right. Let's jump in, shall we? So the first story I want to bring to you is about Prince Harry retracing the steps of Princess Diana as he walks through the landmine field in Angola for the Halo charity, which he is a patron for. Prince Harry has followed in his mother's late footsteps by wearing a flak jacket and walking down a path in an active landmine in Angola to raise awareness for a charity that he works with that clears explosives from old war zones. The Halo Trust says at least 60,000 people have been killed or injured by old landmines since 2007 in Angola alone. It says it has located and destroyed over 120,000 landmines and over 100,000 other devices in Angola since it started its work in 1994. In 1997, Princess Diana worked and went to Angola to support and mobilize support to ban landmines. That was later ratified that year. So it just goes to show how impactful his mother was and how impactful he is. The pictures, interestingly, are not available to British media. They have to go through Harry. Harry has ensured that no British media were allowed on that trip, which I thought was fabulous. That's about them controlling their identity. And what I think is really important is that when you see what he's doing and what the type of activities that Archwell is involved in and him and his wife are involved in, you can see that they are actually making significant impact. He's not a fashion cosplay individual who wants to be washed in, cultural relevance credentials or greenwashing or diversity washing. That's not necessary when you actually live that life. And that's exactly what this is saying that he is doing. And I think it's a really important story, especially given what's happened in places like Iran, where there was supposed to be weapons of mass destruction, and there's lots of munitions left in these places. All these war zones in and around the world where munitions are left to harm people. And the Halo Trust is at the forefront of doing this type of work. And that is also something that Harry is an advocate for. So more power to your grist, Harry. Once again, we know that you're not Sir Pleasurelot. Talk about what you're going to do, and I'm involved in this, when in fact you're not involved in nothing and it's just a photo op. I wonder who that could be. Green-eyed King, Sir Pleasurelot, but actually don't deliver a lot. Also in the Headley Highlight Show's Royal Corner this week, Boo Boo, Doolittle, Kitty Katie mustered the strength of Samson. She was channeling the Nephilim and giants. So deep was her resolve that she was able to make it to 2 days at Wimbledon. Such strenuous activity, darling. And the papers were awash. The bandwidth was significant given to this very feeble exercise of public appearance. And on that note of feeble, clearly lacking muscle mass, and exhibiting signs of Ozempic face and body, we have 2 sycophants this week taking pole position. From People magazine, the digital version, we have Stephanie Petite, a previous contender on Sycophant of the Week, and Logan Holland, a new sycophant acquaintance, presumably, of Miss Petite. Do sit down, darlings. You are this week's early contenders for Sycophants of the Week. As one has previously observed, some articles require 2 sycophants, and we're really not quite sure as to the reason why that is. But on this occasion, Stephanie Petite is joined by Logan Holland, and they write this article about Kate Middleton's return to Wimbledon after her rollercoaster recovery revival. Was she at a Pentecostal church during this particular type of revival? Because it appears that, say, it's almost like a spiritual awakening, according to these particular sycophants from People magazine. They write, Kate Middleton is back at one of her favourite summer outings. Not the fact that she's a patron of probably over 100 charities and none of them have seen her for years, but she's back at the one she really likes doing, Wimbledon, darlings. On Saturday, July the 12th, the Princess of Wales, 43, stepped out at a prestigious tournament for the first time this season to see American tennis star Amanda Anisova and Poland Iga Swiatek compete in the women's singles finals. She later presented the champions with their trophies. She took to her seat in the royal box. She was chaperoned by the enforcer of the All England Lawn Tennis Club, Debbie Jarvis, who only a few days later could be seen pounding people in the back and vigorously shaking her wrists, indicating that people should stand up in the presence of the Plan B side salad queen, which nobody did last week. But this week, miraculously, there were some applause, and we'll be coming to that later. The duo of sycophants write, Kate took to her seat in the royal box at Centre Court, continuing her recent streak of tailored elegance in a white belted blazer-style top and cream-pleated skirt. The jacket that she was wearing, in my opinion, looked like a tailored plastic coat from Girls' World. Something a 1975 Barbie would have been encrusted in, as an unreal beauty standard for us to follow. This was paired with a ruffle skirt, pleated, reminiscent of a tea cozy, warming a very cold cup of tea. The duo continue. The outing comes shortly after her emotional revelations about difficulty of finding her new normal following cancer treatment. Incidentally, the BBC also channel abdominal surgeries. It appears that different outlets have different surgeries that they're reporting on and different treatments. How interesting. The dynamic duo of sycophants continue, guided by Debbie Jarvis, All England enforcer. You absolutely have to stand up if I'm standing next to somebody royal and smelling their breath. You need to do so too, because I'm in such close proximity to them, darlings, of course. Debbie Jarvis guided the delicate princess in waiting to chat with young people and disabled people, the little people, and representatives from the Wimbledon programme and the Wimbledon Foundation. The rest of the article goes on to talk about how when Kate was pregnant, she was advised not to attend, further trying to indemnify the question of delicacy and fragility. The sycophants conclude the hospital visit earlier this month had marked the Doolittle Duchess's first outing since her surprise withdrawal from Ascot. That's still bubbling under the surface. But they assure us that she is determined to find the right balance as she returns back to public work amid her continued recovery. And for writing that article that justifies indolence, laziness, sloth, entitlement, and propaganda, you both get Sycophants of the Week. Thank you so much, People Magazine, for Stephanie Petite, a previous winner of Sycophant of the Week, and a new winner, Logan Holland, from People Magazine. Thank you so much for your putrid article. We all didn't need it, and we saw right through it. Don't write anything else. Good afternoon to you. Also, in the Headley Highlight Show's Royal Corner this week, sloth-like weighty Katie received spontaneous applause, allegedly, when she went to Wimbledon this week. Well, this story, as far as I'm concerned, is an excellent article, or shall I say an excellent example of PR and contrived activity and crowd control. Because let's not forget what happened only a week ago. The side salad turned up, nobody got up, and Miss Jarvis, the enforcer at the lawn tennis club, was moving her wrist so vigorously I thought they were going to fall off and catch that helmet hairstyle that she's got on. And if anyone is familiar with boxing, I think her and Joe Bugner were separated at birth. Oh, meow, Denise, meow. Anyway, you were supposed to believe that suddenly everybody just decided to get up soon as the Doolittle Duchess walked in. And as far as I'm concerned, that was rent-a-crowd. A few well-placed sycophant clappers. And people, sorry to say, are like sheep, especially in a crowd. They'll just follow what other people are doing. And then suddenly it's spontaneous, rapturous applause. Give me a break. Also in the Headley Highlight Show's Raw Corner this week, darlings, did you see Prince George Alexander Louis of Wales, darling? The supreme pre-teen leech in waiting. He's 12, isn't he? Yes. Did you not see him physically repulsed by somebody with special needs? Also, Charlotte in that dress, as far as I'm concerned, she looked like a sea urchin in that frilly dress. And what was he wearing? Dressed up in a suit and tie. He's 12, people. He's not the commissioner of an outpost in the Raj. He looked ridiculous. But the point that was really interesting to me was their response to that boy who won the coin toss, who was disabled. Now, I don't know where you've been if you haven't seen Prince George Alexander Louis of Wales' reaction to him. He was visibly disgusted. He moved back. He gave the guy such a suspicious stare. His countenance spoke words. Not one of them leaned forward to say hello. Not only did they not say hello, they did not stretch out their hands. I mean, he's a subject of the monarchy, darling. Isn't he one of your subjects? You'll be sucking up his taxes, no doubt, in a few years' time, like the rest of your family do. It was so obvious that difference was not tolerated wherever they go. He had the countenance of, "Release the hounds, Edgar! They've broken through!" That was so obvious, there was no hiding it. The lack of humanity, to me, spoke in volumes. And I'm not interested in all those people who are going to jump up in my comments and say, "Oh, they're only children." No, they are being brought up in a household that clearly demonstrates that they are the epitome of perfection. And if you're not like that, we don't even want to be standing next to you. That's what came across. And who doesn't like what I'm saying? That's your business. I absolutely don't give two flying figs, darling. Also, in the Headley Highlight Show's Royal Corner this week, the Green-Eyed King in Waiting, Sir Pleasurelot, please see me as important as relevant, love me more than you love my brother. He was absent, apparently, according to this article, from a summit with representatives from King Charles and Prince Harry. Now, before others get hugely excited about this, and I mean, this article is another one of those puff pieces which effectively argues that King Charles is being centered and he suddenly is desperate to see his grandchildren, and that's the motive for what they are deciding is a peace summit, because nobody's confirmed anything. And as far as I'm concerned, either King Bitter, King I'm so bad-minded myself, or the side salad leaked it. And I'm not quite sure why it was leaked. Was it leaked because King Bitter himself is far closer to the pearly gates than we are being led to believe? Or is it because the King Bitter is still responsible for security in some forms? Because let's not forget what was happening. These individuals, they sit on the Ravic committee, and Prince Harry is coming here next year for the Invictus Games. So maybe that's something that is being discussed, or maybe it's to do with the security around that. Who knows? But I personally have no faith in this particular headline, which says that it is a peace summit so that that relations can be resolved. Why would King Bitter do that? I mean, he only recently organised for the individuals who are going to be attending his funeral. London Bridge has fallen. Yes, and the Sussexes were placed firmly within that. I mean, if that was the case, when he was doing his funeral prep, don't you think he would have been, had a conversation about a peace summit in advance of that, potentially? Yes? No? Well, as far as I'm concerned, I don't believe this story for 1 minute. While I do believe there might have been communications between King Charles and Prince Harry, the nature of what that's about is just speculation in the media. So as far as I can see, the important thing about this is that King Sir Leechelot in Waiting was left out. And what does that tell you? It tells you that in the scheme of things currently, you're not really that important. You're just like a puff balloon that keeps going up, but the air inside is stale and nobody's interested in that anyway. So the way that this was reported is that private aides held a secret peace summit in efforts to restore the broken relationship between Harry and his father, according to this particular article on Fox News. However, several royal experts insisted that this was bad news for Kate and William, because let's face it, they don't have any media interest value anyway. According to the press, Meredith Maines, the Duke of Sussex Chief of Staff and Communications Director, flew from California to London to meet with the King's Communication Secretary, Tobin Andre. The informal meeting was reportedly held at the Royal Overseas League, a private club located a short walk from Clarence House. I'm sure during the course of the week we'll have further leaks from King Bitter and the side chick. Also in the Headley Highlight Show's Royal Corner, apparently royal patronages don't actually deliver anything for charities. Now, this story that I'm about to bring to you is about a research consultancy called Giving Evidence. I have no idea about the background of the consultancy because quite a lot of these things are set up so that you can see particular types of narratives and opinions being formulated and it having some credence. So I haven't done that due diligence. However, I did pick up this story when I was doing my research. And as I've said, I'm splitting my recordings in 2 sections so that I can pace myself and deliver to you, darlings, what you would expect. So, my dears, Giving Evidence is an independent UK consultancy and research organisation, and it examines philanthropic effectiveness, including how royal patronage affects charities. Now, this report is important because the green-eyed king in waiting, Sir Pledge a lot, wants to argue he is wanting to preside over a slimmed down reformed monarchy. He's not reforming the money, certainly not reforming the receipts, and not reforming declaring his tax receipts or revenue, should I say, but he's definitely reforming the amount of activity he does and still want to live the billionaire lifestyle. And he is arguing that the effectiveness of royal patronage is negligible. Personally, I think Giving Evidence's report shows the tax avoiding, do little royal family in a very bad light. It determines that no measurable increase in revenue results as a consequence of them being a patron. In fact, some charities saw a boost to their revenue when they were booted out, expunged, or didn't turn up, which is very much the case. 74% of charities they allegedly were patrons of saw no public engagements from the patron in that year. I would extend that to the decade. Unless, of course, it's Wimbledon and you want to wear a frock, smile and, toss your extensions. It clearly showed that there was no clear financial benefit to those charities as having them as patrons. If you look at the Sussexes, I'm sure you'll see that this is different because they are impactful. They actually do particular things like Harry's in Angola with the Halo Trust. They do specific things that are relevant and are not just there so that, you can potentially have an MBE or get a letter about your endeavors because you've carried some crest of this group of individuals. And I thought that was an interesting story to bring to your attention, primarily because it supports most of what people who have, some modicum of logic, who look at this family and realize that they do not actually give any discernible value to the British public. In fact, it's the other way round. They suck from the British public in a parasitic fashion, which allows them to effectively maintain a lifestyle which is beyond the reach of ordinary people and continues to keep this country in a state where, we have such inequity, and they are the pinnacle of inequity. Oh yes, I've got another quick little tidbit for you before I round things up shortly. I was talking to Mum and she was explaining to me that Duchess Meghan of Sussex was involved in a blind tasting test for her wine, which I think was fabulous. And it actually won. It won the selection of wines of other Hollywood wines which were in the competition. And I thought to myself, isn't that a fantastic result for her? A blind test, and she was a success with her products. And I just thought I'd mention that before I just jump on to the next story. And finally, darling, meow for this last one, darlings, meow. This story I'm going to bring to you is from a writer called Kaiser from a magazine called Celeb Bitchy. And they have really cool royal stories on there. Anyway, this story is here, and I'm not really going to focus too much on the story, but essentially it says, Queen Camilla got 2 new portraits and a Navy appointment for her 78th birthday. And when I was scrolling down, the picture is really close up, and I thought you should have panned out. Hence the laughter as I started and the meow. So what's happened is that it's her 78th birthday and the palace has released 2 portraits of her. I'm not sure how many people would be interested in having a look at that. She has a huge rock on her hand. I'm sure that could feed at least half of Birmingham and the majority of people in Edinburgh if it was sold on the open market. I think there may have been some alteration to the picture because she certainly doesn't look like herself. I mean, her skin is surprisingly bright, which I don't ever recall it being like that. And I haven't turned up the brightness on my computer. And apparently she's been made Vice Admiral. I mean, what for? Has she ever seen active service outside of a 4-poster bed? God, that was really harsh, Dee. But let's be fair, she does come from a line of side chicks, people. It's in her bloodline. It's just some gaudy title for no apparent reason. And for that, I think Charles himself would get Sycophant of the Week. This week he gets an award. I actually nominate King Bitter himself. Hold on, let me get the applause, 1 second. So in closing, I nominate King Bitter himself for Sycophant of the Week for awarding his wife a gaudy, useless title. Take a seat, King Charles. This week you are Sycophant of the Week. Well done, Charles. Please don't award any more titles. Well, that's it, darlings. Okay, that's it with my 2-parter. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly enjoyed it a little bit more. I was a little more catty than usual, but one does try, darlings. I hope to see you next week. Do tune in for another episode of the Headley Highlight Show's Royal Corner. And also, don't forget, this week I have actually got a special interview with I Am Miss Winters. So jump over to the next video that's coming up. Oh, check me out. Look at that. Jump over to the next video by clicking the button and liking and subscribing. And you can hear my interview with I Am Miss Shirley Winters from TikTok. And she does do a lot of raw commentary. So jump onto that interview where I interview her. Well, not interview, but we just have a little chin wag on my show, which is this Friday, 8 p.m. on X. Or you can come to the show and you can hear her live and put your questions there. How about that? Anyway, look, thank you for listening. See you next week. Have a great week. Don't forget to make a donation and like, subscribe, share. And that's it. That's all I got for you. And cut. Oh, I forgot to say, thank you for your listening ears. And cut again. Bye.